Welcome to the Diversity Connector podcast, where we explore the rich tapestry of human experiences. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country on which we meet today. I would also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and together as we dive into conversations that bridge cultures, challenge stereotypes, and celebrate the unique perspectives each of us brings to the table. Each episode is a journey through stories and insights from a kaleidoscope of voices, each sharing their colorful narrative. Whether you're at home, on the go, or just anywhere in between, you're now part of a community that values understanding, inclusivity, and the beauty of diversity. So plug in your headphones, get comfortable, and let's connect through the power of our shared stories. Welcome, and thank you for joining us on the Diversity Connector podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Diversity Connector. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be part of this. Thanks, Gertrude, for meeting with me. My name is Jacqueline Musuka. I'm based here in Perth, Australia. I'm here to, tell you about my journey as an immigrant migrating to Australia. So my background, I'm a mechanical engineer. I studied in Zimbabwe at the University of Zimbabwe, worked for a couple of years there, moved to South Africa, and then at a certain time, my husband and I decided we would like to move to Australia. So it took about a year to apply for jobs. Eventually, I got a job here in Australia, and we came over to Melbourne. So moving to Melbourne was really a challenge. Was a great opportunity. However, some of the challenges that we faced were issues with obviously diversity and also coming into a new country with a different culture and with certain expectations from the organization. So my first role in Melbourne did not particularly work out. At the end of about 2 months, I was told that round hole, square peg, things were not working, and they were ready to actually buy us tickets to go back to South Africa. But my husband and I decided no, we wanted to stay. So I then started looking for another job. We looked for different opportunities, and then later got another job here in Perth. So that's how we ended up in Perth. Um, while working in Perth, I became pregnant with our third child. So just to get a role in a male-based industry as a pregnant African lady was difficult. I did tell the hiring people that I was expecting a child, and I was met with not so friendly, responses. But however, because of the policies here in Australia, they still had to take me up on that role. So the role was very much site based. It was a construction site. I had to always be in the high V's and booths, so lots of physical activity, walking up and down the site, and dealing with male counterparts, which was very challenging for me. I felt very much alone. There was no HR to support me, and pretty much had to go through the whole process um, in silence. So I did take, after giving birth to my son, I did take 50 days of maternity leave. At that point, that's what I thought I was, I guess that's what I thought I had, or I was able to take after 50 days. Having had a cesarean section, it was very difficult to go back to work. And again, there was no support. I was breastfeeding. I had to uh, be do the extraction of the breast milk on site on my own. So it was very, very challenging at that time. Um, After a while, I realized, look, it was not working. My husband was working at the same time. We had two very young kids all going to school. We did have babysitters, and the little one was then also going to daycare. So it was very, very intense at that time, especially for the workload. It was quite intense. I had to be on site by 7, and I would have all these maintenance people waiting for me, expecting uh, expecting me to have done things for them, and um, the whole day working with them. I would finish work at 3 p.m. But after 3 p.m., that's when I was able to actually sit down at the computer to do my work. Of, but but at the same time, I had that responsibility that I have to go home. I've got a young family. I've got a baby. So I went through all that process and had no one to support me, had no one to reach out to. My manager was um he was um I guess his children were much older, in the 20s, at university. So he was pretty much, it was just him and his wife. And every time I mentioned that I've got a child who's sick, I can't make it, or something like that, he would also come up with issues about his dog. Or my dog didn't sleep, it has an ear infection. And I felt like he was always trying to compete with me, uh, and in a way trying to say, oh, he's at work. However, his dog was, he went through a sleepless night with his dog, but he's at work, you see. So I felt that was really challenging. And sometimes I would get to work. I'll drop my child at daycare. Maybe she's had a fever during the night, and then I've given her Panadol, him, sorry, I've given him Panadol, and they would ask me to just stay for a little while until he settles, and then I can go to work later. So I'll do that sometimes, and I'll call my boss and say, hey, I'll be in an hour or so later because I'm attending to my child. And he would not accept that. Uh, and even when I did go in a little bit later, I would stay 1 hour behind later just to make up that time, because in my mind, that's what I felt like I had to do. But however, he really didn't care about me working an extra hour later. So I did not have a lot of support. So after realizing this was too challenging, I decided I would just leave work. So I stopped work for some time. I decided to just quit the job. So I quit, I left. Um, yeah, and I went and I sat at home. I said I would rather take care of my children. I'd missed lots of school functions for my little ones, so I decided to go home and do that. And I spent some time with the kids, going to moms groups and all of those things that I'd never done. And at the end of the day, or it became a 4-year period that I was sitting at home because I then had another baby. We had another child. So by then we had 4 children. So the challenge also came when I wanted to come back to work. I didn't know how to. I felt I'd spent so much time away, and it's it's taken me a whole it's been a whole journey just trying to rebuild my confidence and come back as a career mom, wife, full-time working now. And that I guess that has been my journey and my struggle to reestablish myself in my workforce. So I think that's in a nutshell my story.
Wow. That's an amazing journey you've been on. It's very, very challenging for women to work in the engineering field.
Yeah.
Extremely male dominated, and this isn't a very uncommon story, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. So when I did come back to work, I was very, very emotional. I felt I'd lost 4.5 years of not working. So I felt so disconnected. I felt
Mm.
irrelevant. I felt things have changed and I have no idea what's happening and how do I start. So I did not have any support at all. And yeah, I've just been powering through.
So, what is your approach now, and what advice, what tips would you give to any other working mom who's in a male dominated environment? What do you think should be done? What should be changed to take women into account?
I think it's important to have a network of women around you who have been through the same journey so you
Yes.
can learn from them because I got to know that there are some support systems that you can leverage, but if you
Mm,
don't know about them, you really feel like you're on your own.
yes.
So that's one thing I found really useful, and I began to network with other females, other African ladies as well,
Okay.
because it's okay to network with like the Europeans, the Australians,
Mm,
but then their support system is different, right?
yes.
So when I joined an organization called Western Power, I spoke to some other ladies. They've got a diversity and inclusion um, department. Their
Right.
stories are different. So one of them said to me that when she had gone on maternity leave for a long time and she didn't know what or how to come back, she said she just reached out to um, her previous manager and she said, "Hey, I'm looking for a job." And then he said, "Oh, you can come." So it was that easy for her
Yes.
and for them. Whereas for myself, I had to go through processes of applying and um,
Starting from scratch.
starting from scratch and trying to explain to these hiring people that I can do this job. I have done this before, trying to prove
Yes.
to them that you can do it. There's always been this question, this doubt that, oh, you can't do it, or
Mm,
they're not sure. You have to prove yourself. Oh, it's been like that. When
that's
I
challenging.
when I joined when I joined Deloitte, and my name had been put forward for a project. I had
Right.
one of the partners standing next to me talking to the other partner, talking about me and saying, so the other partner was advocating for me, saying, yes, she's putting me for this project because this is my background. She's done this before. But the other partner was really saying, no, this is just on paper. We don't know if she can do it. I don't think she can do it. Oh, it was, and I'm sitting right there and I'm listening to him just derailing my uh,
Please.
my ability, and I felt I had to stand up and walk out of that place because I'm there trying to establish myself and come back into
Yeah,
um,
the
this
workplace.
workforce. And I'm also having my own issues with insecurity and self-doubt.
Yeah,
There he
the
is
last thing you
talking about
need.
how she can't do it. We don't know for sure if she can do it.
So how
Oh,
has being a mother influenced your decisions and priorities in your career, particularly in the field of sustainability and STEM empowerment?
um, so while I was away from work, one of the things I started doing was a STEM clubs, because I
Mhm.
felt, okay, I can run some STEM clubs. I've got kids at home that like to have all these experiments, to do all these experiments. So I approached the city of Wanneroo, where close to where I lived, and they said, look, we can provide you with a place to run a STEM club. We'll provide all of the resources that you need. Just come up with a curriculum, just come up with a program. So I ran this weekly program, and um, the reason I did it was because I felt I wanted to pass on this STEM understanding to
Yes.
my children and also the bigger community, because
Yes.
having that STEM background is not because you want to be an engineer, not because you want to be a doctor, a nurse, or in a STEM profession, but
Mm,
it helps you to problem solve, helps you to understand that when you fail, you can try again. So it's
yes.
it's got that problem solving approach to life. So any situation that you are given, you are able to um, solve a problem. And it's all about experimenting, trying out, and putting your best and coming up with all these solutions to different ideas. So
Mm,
I felt that I could help the children, help my children to to not give up in any situation. So
yes. Oh, I love it.
that's been my thought process towards STEM. So I'm still a STEM advocate.
That's good. So,
Yeah.
how do you integrate your experience as a mother into your mentorship and leadership roles, especially when guiding young professionals in STEM?
So as a mother, so firstly, as a mother, what I've realized is I'm home running an organization.
Mhm.
So it's, in a way, it's already leading.
Yes.
I've got to come up with meal plans. I've got to come up with laundry plans. I've got to allocate um,
Duties.
allocate chores
Yeah.
to each of the children, assign chores and delegate. And I've got expectations, and um, so that's how I guess I approach leadership
Mm,
from a motherhood perspective. And
yeah.
um, that's how I have that kind of I'm an empathetic person, I suppose. So
Right.
when I do mentor or speak to younger professionals,
Mm,
I speak to them with empathy, because I listen to where they are, and I think about how I have been there before, and what lessons that I've learned that I can impart
yes.
on them. So I guess that's my approach.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to mothers who are striving to build a career in the STEM fields?
Um, that it's possible.
Yes.
Um, I've had At one time I was speaking to a lady she was still in a final year studying engineering, and she was
Mhm.
asking me. how do you do it? Or is it possible to have a family and then work as well? And I had to explain to her that it is possible. There are challenges, and you just have to, I guess, uh, make choices that align with your values. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, my advice would be, there's more support now. Back in the
Yes,
day, there wasn't a lot of support or recognition for women, for mothers. Right now, the maternity period has, I think, has some people take even a whole year or two
yes.
years and are still able to
Yeah.
come back to work. And they've also
Mhm.
included the paternity as well. The partners do help. They get
Yes.
that opportunity to take
Wow.
time off. So
Okay.
there's a lot of support, and you won't be alone. Even now, with this diversity and inclusion that is now embedded in most organizations, it is
Mm.
really to help uh, moms, to help women
Yes.
still be able to succeed in this environment. So I think this is a good time for us. It's really
Wow.
a good
Yeah.
time. I see a lot of support even with the organization that I'm working with now.
Okay. So, how do you incorporate your family values into your professional life, particularly in the community leadership and volunteer work?
So family values, it- I always put my family first.
Mhm.
Um, because that's your support system at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Where you go out to work, you go out in the community, you need to come back to a family that's thriving and that's supportive. If there's a lot of stress in your home, in your family, it's
Mhm.
difficult to then go out and give your best to the community and
Yeah.
even to your workplace. So I'm very much I'm a community person. I love being involved in community events. So I
Okay.
always drag my children whenever there's a community event. I sign them up even if they don't want. And I drag them, hey, let's go and help out. Just at the
Okay.
end of last year, our community where we live, they needed help to set up the Christmas event thing.
Okay.
So I took the kids and said, "Hey, we are available." I put my hand up and say, "Yes, I'm available. I've got a workforce at home. They have
Oh, I love
nothing to do." Instead of them sitting and being on their devices, let's go
yeah.
out there and help. So we do that a lot. We also had a friend who she's gone through a lot in her life. So we visited her one of the days, a dear friend of mine. And when I went there with the kids, they were like, wow, mom, we need to help. She needs help with cleaning the
Wow.
house and just doing her landscaping is very messy. So my husband and we said, hey, we're going to set aside some time and we're just going to go out there and just
I
clean
love
up her
it.
yard, clean up her house, and just help her because sometimes people do need that help. And if
Wow.
you're available, like I say to my to my husband, we have kids here, they can work. We don't
Love
want them just sitting around. So
it.
whenever we see an opportunity where somebody needs help with their
Mm.
landscaping, get them in the car. Let's go. We spend the whole day just helping, cutting the grass and cleaning up. So that's that's what we do as a family.
I like that. So, what
Yeah.
steps do you believe are necessary to create a more family friendly work environment in technical and industrial sectors?
Family friendly. It's about flexibility.
Hmm.
Having a place where you're flexible. For example, um,
Yeah.
when I joined Western Power some time ago, they used to have their meetings starting at 7:30 because it's all guys. I mean, they can just leave the house anytime, and
And so,
they do
yes.
have wives and children, but
Mm,
they don't have to worry about a lot. They can get themselves to work at 7:30. So they did their weekly meetings starting 7:30. So when I got there, I'm like, look, I can't do 7:30. I'll be here at 9. So I did speak to my boss and he said, okay, let's do the meetings at 9. So that was the flexibility coming in,
mm, mm,
allowing that diversity, allowing everybody to be included in the meeting. So that was one. What else? So in the values, for example, our values now with the consulting organization I'm in, they
right.
have now put a requirement that no proposal goes out without any female representative, or they always have to find a female leader or someone from the diverse community to be part of
Unity.
the proposal. So I
Okay.
feel that that's a really that has really helped to um, include everyone. And because I feel like from if you're from a diverse background, you constantly have to prove yourself to be able um, to be for your name to be put forward. But now
Yeah,
you there isn't that fight a lot of the
right.
times.
That's
Yeah.
excellent. That's excellent. So, what about things like having a preschool on site, facilities that make it easier for you to breastfeed if you're
Yes, yeah,
wanting
yeah.
breastfeeding? That should be taken into consideration as well, right?
Yes, definitely, definitely. When I was part of a diversity and inclusion um community before, and that was one of the things we advocated for, because a
Yeah,
lot of women would be coming back from maternity leave, they're breastfeeding, they're got little young ones, they need a space to be able to express the milk
yeah,
privately. So we created this space um, for people to be able to bring their babies once in a while,
yeah,
um, and
makes sense.
have a space for like a daycare kind of set
Yeah,
up
that's
close by. So that really helped.
okay.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming online today and gracing us with your presence and sharing your story and your experience. It seemed like it was challenging, but you haven't given up on staying in the STEM sector, which is
Yeah.
great because we need more young women to see you standing there as an example, as a role model. Thank you
Yeah,
so
no,
much.
thank you. Thank you so much. There were times I thought, oh, I'm going to give up. Oh, I'll be crying in the toilet. I'll be doing this and that. But like having a supportive, my husband's been really supportive, so I really appreciate him for that. The family has been supportive, and that's really helped me a lot.
Okay. And thank you
Yeah.
to everybody who's tuned in today. The Diversity Connector is bringing you stories of women and men from all walks of life, celebrating our diversity, sharing our challenges and our triumphs. So come up back again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing person. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Jacqueline, thank you again for the interview.
Oh, thanks again, Gertrude. And if anyone needs some advice, help, please feel free to reach out.
Fantastic. Bye for now, everybody. Thanks so much, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap, everybody, on today's episode of the Diversity Connector podcast. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our vibrant and global conversation. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a tapestry of diverse perspectives. Remember, every story you've heard today is a thread in the larger fabric of our shared humanity. So, as you step back into your world, carry these stories with you and let them inspire you to embrace and celebrate the rich diversity around us. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these inspiring stories with more listeners. Do follow us on social media by looking for the Diversity Connector podcast for more updates. Until then, keep connecting, keep listening, and keep celebrating the beauty of diversity. This is the Diversity Connector podcast signing off. Stay curious, stay open, and definitely